I'm Chanel Milton, and the outlet is the headline. Um, Sorry, just one second. So it's nice to meet you. My name's Chanel Milton. Obviously, I said that. But what was your favorite part of producing this film?
I mean, favorite part, I don't even know. I mean, there's every part of it's been my favorite part. Being able to make this movie is just a dream come true. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity to, bring this story to the world.
Yeah, it was an incredible story to watch. Definitely very like motivational, and I really admired and loved that part of the film. I know that from doing some little research on you, I know most of your films center on or have some sort of religious aspect, and I know that was also embedded in this film as well. What do you think is like different between this film and some of the other films that you've been a part of?
It's a different story. It's a different story. Every
Mhm.
story requires a different approach. And so this story is no exception. And so the difference is that it's a different story. It's a totally different experience. And making this movie, really wanted to portray that and really wanted to do the story justice by creating a narrative around it that was specific to the story that we were telling. And so it was really a blessing to be able to do that and to make a story, around the true story or from the true story that was tailor made to fit the tone of the story. A lot of the stories that Richard Montañez, who Flamin Hot is about, when he would tell me different stories, they were some of them were heartfelt, some of them were funny, some of them were, very tragic. So I really wanted the movie to represent Richard's journey, and that's why the tone of the film is different than other films that I've done because the story is different.
Right, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I think I've definitely seen some of the other ones, so I definitely get a different feel and just like the um and how the characters are and the whole production of it.
Yeah.
Uh, how was it working alongside Miss Longoria? Were there any like learning takeaways or like how was that
Yeah.
experience for you?
It was awesome. It was absolutely awesome.
Mhm.
Loved working with her. Can't wait to do it again. She is a
Mhm.
true filmmaker. She's a visionary. She, was an incredible ambassador of goodwill on the set with the entire crew. So it was amazing. I mean, truly amazing. And I'm looking for the next thing that we can do together.
That's wonderful. That sounds like a great experience.
Yeah.
Um, So I know, you were talking about meeting Richard Montañez, and uh, after meeting him in 2017, what was it that made you want to bring this film to life?
What made me want to bring the film to light was, when he was telling me a story, I just found it so motivational. I found it so
Mhm.
inspirational. As we were talking about the story, I just said, "Whoa!" By the end of the meeting, I said, "Wait a minute, I can't believe this is true. I can't believe you did this." I just found it, awe inspiring. And as a result, I said, okay, I'm going to give you my word. We're going to get this done. And at the time, I didn't know how we were going to get it done, but the way that it happened was just me staying very clear on the passion of my connection to this. Because at the end of the day, being a producer, your projects only go as far as your passion will take them. And so that passion for this story was the fuel that I had and that I continue to have in order to get this story to the world, because I think it's going to help people. I think it's going to motivate and inspire people. And I think right now we're in a time where people need hope and they need guidance, and a lot of people rely on entertainment to provide that.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, it was very motivational and inspirational, especially for me as like a college student that's, trying to
Oh,
make her own way. So it was definitely a very motivational film. I loved it a lot. Um, so were you able to show him the film
yeah.
before it's in advance of its release? And what was the reaction? And I know he was in the film too. I caught that.
Nice
So
little
whose
cameo.
idea was that?
I think that was Eva's idea, if I remember correctly, because Richard and
Mm-hmm.
Judy had come to set. No, we knew we were going to use them. We had talked about it before we shot, about
Mhm.
incorporating them into a cameo in that particular scene. And so, when they came to set, we took care of them, and we were so glad that they decided to do it. It was a blessing to see them, in the movie, and they enjoyed it. I mean, they had a great, great time.
Yeah, that sounds that's great. Yeah, I know. He must be feel so proud and happy that
Oh,
his story is being told,
yes.
and yeah,
Yeah, he really
yeah.
does. I mean, when he saw the movie for the first time, he was emotional. Same with Judy. They couldn't believe that the movie got so many elements of their story right, and that they were so proud of it, and they were just in amazement. They still are, that this movie is now about to come to the world, and his story will now be forever memorialized, right? Like, his story will be around in perpetuity. And so he is still grasping the magnitude of it. I mean, think about the history of the world. How many people have had movies made about them? Very, very few. And of those that have had movies made about them, how many are still alive? Very, very few. So for him to be alive, and for his life to now be a major motion picture, that's an incredible achievement, and he's incredibly grateful.
Yes, that, yeah, I'm sure he is. And I know the movie's gonna reach a lot of people, and people are definitely going to love it and watch it, because I've
Yeah.
talked about, the trailer and everything and how everyone should watch it. So um yeah, so I know that there were some challenges, prior to filming, um about his story, and it supposedly not being true to the origin story. How was Why was it important to get his story across despite those odds?
Yeah, because we believe in his story, and anyone that sees the movie will, see how all of the things, in terms of the creation of Flamin' Hot, how all these things work together in terms of what Richard's story is, and what was happening in the Midwest, when the Flamin' Hot product was being conceived, and where Richard was when that was happening. I mean, we deal with all of it. So, I'm
Mm-hmm.
grateful that we can make a film that does tell the true story, that's balanced in its portrayal, and really gives the audience a chance for themselves to experience what Richard's story was, and what his contribution was, and what Frito-Lay's contribution was. So it was a challenge to navigate the press around the article that came out before we made the film, but it didn't necessarily present a story challenge, because a lot of that information we had already incorporated into the script.
Okay, yeah, that I definitely can see that by them talking about like the chemical kind of component that was in the
Yes.
story. That was really funny, and
Yes.
then having like the homegrown part of it, which was awesome. So yeah, I think you guys did a great job of finding that balance. Is there like anything else that you'd want the audience or anyone to know uh, while watching the film that's really important?
You know that this is the first movie in the history of Disney to go out on Disney Plus and Hulu. So it's a historic achievement for a film, especially a film of this size. I mean, we're not a hugely budgeted film, and we're not what you would consider your traditional blockbuster. Even though I do believe we have blockbuster potential. So to go out on Disney Plus and Hulu, and be the first movie to ever do that with both of those platforms, that's amazing, and that's historic. And I think it just speaks to how people connect to the film. Every person we've screened this movie for, walks away from it feeling more optimistic, feeling hopeful, moved emotionally, completely convinced in the power of love, completely convinced with determination. So, those things really are incredible. And the fact that they can come out of the movie, just makes me feel really good.
That's amazing. Yeah, I love that answer. Thank you so
Yeah,
much for taking time to speak with me and answer
my
all my
pleasure.
questions. Yeah, I had a great time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care.
You too.